Hey everyone! In this Java tutorial, we're going to build something beautiful, an animated gradient border for your JFrame using just Java Swing. I'm using NetBeans and a simple JFrame form. You can use any IDE, but make sure you're working with a JFrame. Let's go ahead and build a custom GlassPane that will sit on top of everything and render our animated border. Once you add JFrame title, drag and drop JPanel and resize that fits for JFrame size. Rename JPanel name to main panel. Import Java Swing package classes, AWT package classes and event package classes to your JFrame. Inside your gradient border frame class, add instance variables timer and shift. Create two instance methods, draw gradient border and draw gradient line. Draw gradient border method takes graphics 2D argument. Draw gradient line methods takes graphics 2D, x, y, width, height and Boolean argument horizontal. Alright, let's break down the method that actually paints the animated border, draw gradient border. First, we get the width and height of the GlassPane using getWidth and getHeight methods. This ensures our gradient is drawn exactly within the boundaries of the visible area. Then we define a constant called thickness. This determines how thick the border will be, in this case, 10 pixels. Now we draw the four sides of the border using the draw gradient line method. First, the top border, starting at the top left corner, drawing across the full width with the specified thickness. Next, the right border, it starts at the far right edge and runs down vertically. Then the bottom border, which goes all the way across from left to right at the bottom edge. And finally, the left border, which runs from the top to the bottom. Each of these calls is carefully positioned to avoid overlap and keep the animation seamless. And because we're using the gradient paint with a shifting hue, all four sides will smoothly animate through the rainbow spectrum. Now let's take a closer look at the core of the animation, the gradient paint object, and how it brings life to our border. The first color is generated using color class getHSBColor method. This method creates a color based on hue, saturation, and brightness. We take shift modules 360, which keeps the hue value between 0 and 359, representing the color wheel. Then we divide it by 360 to normalize it between 0 and 1, which is what the HSB function expects. The 1 for saturation and brightness means we want fully saturated and bright colors, very vibrant. Now for the second color. It's almost the same, but we add 60 degrees to the hue. This gives us a smooth transition between two different colors. Together, this creates a horizontal or vertical gradient, depending on the panel side. The horizontal conditional operator, it decides whether the gradient runs horizontally or vertically based on which border we're drawing. Finally, we set this gradient as the paint for the graphics 2D object using setPaint method. And then we draw a filled rectangle, using fillRect method, exactly where the border should appear. As the shift value keeps changing with every frame, the hue rotates around the color wheel, giving the animated, flowing rainbow effect. First, we create a custom J panel called Animated Panel. We override the paint component method so we can draw a custom animated border. Inside it, we call super GlassPane component method to keep the base painting intact, and then call draw gradient border to render our colorful effect. Next, we make the panel transparent using setOpaque method false. This ensures the border is drawn on top of other components without hiding them. Then, we disable the Layout Manager by setting it to null, giving us full manual control over the panel size and position. Now we install our animated panel as the GlassPane of the JFrame. The GlassPane sits above all components, which is perfect for drawing effects like this border. To make sure the animated panel covers the whole frame when the window opens, we add a window listener. In the window open method, we set the size of the panel to match the window, and then make it visible. Here, we create a swing timer that fires every 60 milliseconds. Each time it runs, it increases the shift value by 5. This shift is what causes the color to rotate and animate the border. Then, we call repaint method to refresh the panel and apply the new colors. Finally, we start the timer to kick off the animation. And just like that, we've built a smooth, animated gradient border using Java Swing. If this inspired you, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and comment what you'd like to see animated next.